What's up, Kings fans? We're here, we're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, your source for Sacramento Kings content on YouTube. We are back here, Royal Rebounds Podcast with Calvin and Barry. Calvin, what are we drinking today?
Today we are drinking the 805 Blonde Ale from Firestone Walker Brewery, Paso Robles, California. We're in the 808, but we're drinking the 805.
It is it's pretty good blonde ale. Not bad at all. About 4.5%. So guys, just real quick, just want to remind you, if you do want to join the Royal family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. If you enjoy this content, you want to see more content based on your Sacramento Kings, make sure you hit that like button. And go ahead and share this video with some of your Kings friends as well. If you are interested in any cool apparel, like what Calvin's wearing over here, you can visit our store at royalrebounds.com. All right, Calvin, let's jump right in here. What has everybody been talking about for the past, I don't even know how long now?
They've been talking about Ben Simmons. There's not a whole lot going on in the NBA world right now, so it's all rumor and speculation, and the Kings have come out as the odds-on favorite as of late to land the services of Ben Simmons. He has officially told the 76ers that he will not report to training camp. He does not want to play in Philadelphia.
Vegas just recently updated the odds.
Yes,
the Warriors are now the favorite over the Kings. The Kings were the favorite yesterday.
That's right.
But who knows at this point, right?
Well, Ben did say that he would gladly go to 3 California teams. There are 4 teams in California, so that does mean one is on the outside looking in. And common sense tells you that you'd want to go to a title contender like the 2 teams in LA or the Warriors, who are still not too far removed from their dynasty of success. And the Kings are up and coming still. So
and he's also said he'd play for 29 other tems in the league other than the Sixers. So that's good.
It is clear that he does not want to play in Philadelphia. That is one thing we know for certain. Ben has said that Doc Rivers is a main focal point in why he doesn't want to return. That press conference in the playoffs last year when he pretty much dragged Ben Simmons under the bus.
He did.
Definitely damaged their relationship, it appears. And it also came out as news today that the media had tried to suggest that there was a rift between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and Embiid had said or not said that he didn't want Ben Simmons back on the team. Not sure whether or not I believe that. Joel Embiid came out today on social media and all that and said that that was not true. He does want Ben back. He thinks they're good enough to win together, which I think is probably true. They went through a lot of hard times in Philadelphia together. They both rode the wave of getting really good together. They're both pretty similar in age. Pretty interesting, I think, that for a guy like Embiid, who's been criticized a lot himself, not being healthy, production, all that stuff.
Ben's always had his back.
He has. He absolutely has. And then Joel comes out last year, has an MVP quality season, plays fantastic. And they get really close again. Not quite as close as they did last year, but they're right there knocking on the door to the Eastern Conference Finals, the NBA Finals. So very, very difficult situation in Philadelphia right now. I'm not sure how things are going to turn out, but could be good news for the Sacramento Kings.
Daryl Morey really screwed this one up. He obviously, Ben Simmons' asking price is much lower now that he's refusing to play for the Sixers, refusing to go to camp. It's an interesting story because he's the second best player on one of the best teams in the league. And it's not very often that guy is available, especially at 25 years old and locked up long term. So it is an interesting situation. And he does have a lot of flaws in his game, but he is young. I think you look at a guy like Brook Lopez, who started shooting threes later in his career. I think he shot made three threes his first 7 years in the league, and then since then he's been breaking records. So guys can learn. They can start shooting later on in their careers. But for me, the biggest thing is what's going on with the Kings, and that's the asking price for Ben Simmons, which a few weeks ago had to include De'Aaron Fox. Came out yesterday that it has to include either De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Haliburton, which the Kings scoffed at, obviously. So what's it going to be next week? Is it going to be De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton, or Marvin Bagley, maybe?
Who knows? All we do know for sure is that the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to get for Philadelphia, because you're going to have a James Harden situation where the guy doesn't show up to camp, he's not going to play, and then, what are you going to do? You've got a dead roster spot, basically, that's normally occupied by an all-star. So I think as time goes on, of course the asking price has to come down. It only makes sense.
We're only a few weeks away.
You have to get something for him if you're going to trade him. So to me, it's going to be really interesting to see what other team besides the Kings could step up and deliver an offer that may not be exactly what the Sixers wanted at the original time that they announced they were going to deal him, but is good enough, right? And the Warriors are a team to watch for me, because they're not only a team that Ben Simmons would probably want to go to, most likely want to go to, but they have a lot of assets. They have a lot of pieces, draft picks. They got 2 first-round picks this year. They played very well in the Summer League.
I think they would have to give up a guy like Draymond Green to match the salaries. Would you consider that if you're Bob Myers?
I would consider it, because I think Ben Simmons and Draymond Green are very similar style of player. Definitely not similar in their demeanor, and team chemistry and leadership and all that would play a huge factor in my decision making. I'm sure it will in Bob Myers' decision making as well. But you're getting a guy who is a very talented defender, just like Draymond, a guy who can play guard multiple positions, and a guy who also isn't a great shooter like Draymond, but brings a lot more to the table offensively as of today than Draymond Green does. So it's definitely something I would consider. But I think every team is kind of in the same boat right now. They don't want to give up too much for this guy, which is really an unprecedented type of thing for when you're talking about dealing for an all-star.
Three-time all-star.
Right. Most teams are chomping at the bit to get somebody like that. And here you've got the situation where he doesn't want to play for Philly. Philly doesn't want him. And it seems like every other team out there is saying,
they know.
Well, we know nobody, there's no super, we have to make this deal right now. So let's just wait and see if we can get him for cheap.
Yeah, it's very true. And they're not good for Philadelphia.
Not good at all.
If I was Philadelphia, I'd be stoked to have Draymond Green on my team, because I think he could light a fire under Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick shout out to Ken. Ken, last week in the episode, talking about Davion Mitchell, I mentioned Donovan Mitchell. I'm very sorry, Ken. I'm sorry I ruined your day.
Not like they don't wear the same number or anything.
Yeah, even us professionals make mistakes sometimes. On a side note, I did want to thank all of our subscribers. We broke 500 last week, which is amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for all your support, for telling your friends about us, for watching all our videos. We do it for you guys, so thank you so much.
While we're on that note, I promised Tanvir I would give him another shout out on Twitter the other day. He told me that we're not shouting him out enough. So shout out Tanvir. Number one Royal Rebounds fan.
Number one
Love
fan you. In the building. Super VIP guy. All right, so back on the Ben Simmons topic. I saw an interesting trade proposal yesterday, and I'm not advocating for this before you all attack me down in the comments. I'm not advocating for this trade. I don't think I would do it, but it was thought-provoking. And that was Tyrese Haliburton, Marvin Bagley, and a future first-round pick for Ben Simmons. I am not advocating for Tyrese Haliburton. I'll say that again. I'm not advocating to trade Tyrese Haliburton. But it did bring up an interesting lineup. Not giving away a guy like Buddy Hield, who obviously fits well with Ben Simmons, considering Ben's lack of shooting ability. And just looking at a starting lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, Ben Simmons, and Rashawn Holmes looks pretty good on paper. And if you're able to retain a guy like Davion Mitchell to come off of your bench, that's great. That's great, right?
Yeah, it is. When you think about acquiring Ben Simmons, there aren't many situations or scenarios that I can think of where he ends up on the Kings and the Kings get worse. Now, I don't want to get rid of Tyrese Haliburton either necessarily. I think everybody is ready for the Fox Haliburton era, and it makes more sense to try to move on from Buddy Hield and make Tyrese the main shooting guard or a starter in the backcourt, shooting guard, point guard, however you want to put it. But that deal makes you think. It really does. You know, it's not every day, like we said, that a guy like Ben Simmons becomes available. And it does a couple of things for you. It gets Ben Simmons on the team, first of all. It gets Marvin Bagley a new home, which is something that I think most of the Sacramento community feels is the right thing to do. And, you know, it's hard to argue that the Kings wouldn't be just as good, if not better, if they make that deal.
Yeah, it frees up the logjam at the point guard position, and it fills a need power forward. Because Marvin hasn't stayed healthy, we've had to cycle people in and out of that position. Ben Simmons is a pretty healthy guy, other than Rookie of the Year Ben Simmons. But yeah, that would be an interesting move, and you know, I could see a guy like,
unlikely as it is.
Yeah, I could see a guy like Buddy Hield playing a big role on that team. But I, for one, would not make that deal. I just like Tyrese too much. I think he's got too high of a ceiling. I've been watching the show about him on YouTube, and he's just an incredible player, a lot of potential.
I agree 100%.
So very, very excited.
And Tyrese Haliburton, when you think about it, is a very similar player to Ben Simmons, but he can shoot.
Yep.
So, yeah, you got to keep him, I think.
Yeah. So, I guess what else has been in the discussion is what else will come back with Ben Simmons if they do need to pair him with another guy to make the roster fit or salary and all that. I know he makes a ton of money, so it couldn't be a guy making very much money. It'd have to be a guy probably on a rookie scale contract. And that leaves two guys. We have Matisse Thybulle that Calvin and I had both raved about last year. This guy is a defensive juggernaut to come. His shooting is getting a little bit better, but just all the talent on the defensive end of the floor. He's been a huge, upside player for them. And then another guy is Tyrese Maxey, and he balled out last year. He had a great rookie season in limited playing time. But I think the connection with Rich Paul between Ben Simmons and Rich Paul representing Tyrese Maxey, maybe he could potentially be on the move too. Was there any guy, if you did have to give up a little more as the Kings, maybe another first-round pick, or maybe a guy like Tyrese Haliburton and Mitchell that you could bring back in that trade to balance it out for you?
Well, I'm a big Tyrese Maxey fan. I thought he was one of the best, if not the steal, besides Tyrese Haliburton. One of the greatest picks in last year's draft. The Sixers really knocked it out of the park with him. Fantastic player. If you're going to have to give up a guard, one of your main rotation guards, getting somebody like him in return would be huge to fill that hole. I think he's going to be a really, really great player. Is he going to be better than Haliburton? Only time will tell on that. I'm not so sure. He's not quite as well-rounded of a player as Tyrese is, but he's a better scorer as of right now. I realize the salaries have to match, and somebody has to go. I'm surprised that the Sixers are willing to include him in such a deal, because I think losing losing him is going to be a big hole to fill at
It would
point
only
guard
be
for them
a
already.
Rich Paul power move.
Yeah. So it's interesting. This is a really tough decision to be made. When these negotiations are on the table in front of you, because neither team wants to give up too much. Neither team wants to put themselves in a worse situation than they already are. And it's such a roll of the dice. You have an opportunity to bring in a really great player in Ben Simmons, but is it worth it to disrupt some sort of, the chemistry that you have on this team right now for a guy like that? It is a risk. It really is. So we've said in the past that the Kings need to make some big swings, swing for the fences a little bit. That's when you look at it, the Western Conference is so tough, and the Kings play in perhaps the toughest division in all of basketball.
Yep.
The Suns, both LA teams, and the Warriors. That's brutal right there, because you got to play each of those times four games, four times a year.
At least.
So there's a lot of ground that they need to make up in not a lot of time, but at the same time, they're very young. They have that to their advantage. When you look at the average age of the Lakers roster compared to the average age of the Kings roster, there's definitely, the Lakers have such a small window, and the Kings window is maybe a lot bigger. So it's a gamble. It is. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It's a tough job to be in, tough position to be in right now.
Yeah.
For either GM, Daryl Morey or Monty McNair.
Yeah.
Daryl Morey may have shot himself in the foot a little bit, but it's still a tough position to be in.
So another rumor that I heard this week is that the Sixers, well, we all know that the longer they wait, the less valuable Ben Simmons is. It just, you could see over the past month how his value has dropped, and now with him not even wanting to play with them anymore, which I could have told you a month ago was going to happen. I think I actually did on one of our podcasts. I heard a rumor that they were just waiting for Dame to request a trade so that they could swap. That's the ideal trade for them, right? Is Ben Simmons for an all-star point guard.
Right.
Move it over, maybe add some picks in there, or maybe one of those young guys to make it even. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So what do you think the Sixers are waiting for?
Man, I don't know. At this point, I don't know anymore. It seems like they've backed themselves into a corner a little bit. They thought that things were going to go differently. Maybe there would have been some more movement on draft night. Maybe they really were just trying to hold out for Damian Lillard or something like that. Or they probably just thought that Ben Simmons is a good enough talent that he's going to gain or net them an all-star in return. And the other teams out there played their cards perfectly, and now the Sixers are in the worst position in the negotiation spot.
I mean, the Warriors got an all-star from the Nets in a sign-in trade from a guy that was leaving them. They ended up netting an all-star in that trade. I know it was his first all-star appearance, D'Angelo Russell, but still, pretty crazy situation. I know I, for one, am really excited to see how this turns out. The Kings are in it, guys. We're in the spotlight. I know the word came out yesterday saying that, the Kings are out, but I think that's a major pullback from Monty McNair. That's the ultimate, no, we don't want to include those guys. They're going to wait a little bit, probably re-engage in negotiations. We'll see what happens. But anyways, want to thank everybody for joining us on another episode of the Royal Rebounds Podcast. Harry Giles is still a free agent, so keep your eyes on that. And in the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings. Thanks for watching.
Shout out Tanvir.